Hey everybody, welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson. Today is a beautiful day. Listen, this episode today, this one right here, I'm telling you what, it is a game changer. This is the real deal. We talk about some stuff today with my buddy, Matt Faircloth. We get real. I'm telling you, it is going to be epic. Listen, pull on your boots, pull them up tight. We're gonna go get in it, my friend, and we're not gonna disappoint. Just put it that way, okay? So with that said, let me just give you the guest. His name is Matt Faircloth. He's been a full-time investor for 15 years. In that time, he's successfully completed projects involving dozens of fix and flips, office buildings, single-family homes, apartment buildings. He is completed over $60 million in real estate transactions, controls over 1,100 units in multifamily. He's a regular contributor and podcast guest on BiggerPockets.com, has an active YouTube channel dedicated to educated investors, and he's the author of an Amazon bestseller, Raising Private Capital, How to Build Your Real Estate Empire with Other People's Money. Listen, today is good. I'm very proud of what we just did. You know, normally I record the stuff and then I come back and record the intro. And I'm just telling you right now, this is one to go down. It's good. I don't always say that about all my podcasts, but my friends, this one's good. With that said, quickly, listen, I've been wanting to do this and I've never done this before. And so right now, I want to give, if you've not read my book, Copy Your Way to Success, I'm going to do something that I don't normally ever do. And so to get it, you have to be listening to this podcast, my friends. And the way you're going to get it, I'm not going to make you pay for it, not even $1, okay? Here's how you get my book, Copy Your Way to Success, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants, for absolutely free. You're going to text the word book, B-O-O-K, to 480-500-1127. So text the word book to 480-500-1127. We'll ask you some questions on where you live and all that stuff. And then my team will ship you out a copy of our book, Copy Your Way to Success, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. It's a great book, man. I'm telling you, I wrote every word. It should make you laugh. I think it should make you cry. It should inspire you in this wonderful and beautiful game called multifamily investing. So I hope you take me up on that. Again, text the word book to 480-500-1127 and you can get your copy today. Get your copy. I can't even talk today. I'm so excited about this episode. With that said, really a quick word from our sponsors.
Do you want to learn how to find and finance apartment complexes using other people's money? Join us for our virtual Apartments to Millions Summit, where we will teach you how to get started in multifamily real estate investing. We will show you underwriting, how to find the best properties, how to find money, deal structure, and even how to maintain the properties and deal with the unexpected expenses that pop up. Text A2M to 480-500-1127. That's A, the number 2M to 480-500-1127. Learn how to create cash flow and not quick profits. Cash flow is king.
All right, we're back and we're going to jump to it. Listen, this podcast is epic. Here we go. Hey, Matt, welcome to the show, brother.
What's going on, Big Kahuna? It's grateful to be here, man. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Listen, you have done a lot of stuff, man. You've been a lot of places. And today I kind of want to open up this segment for you and let's talk about just the stuff, right? Like multifamily in general. But before we start though, can you give us your little quick story? Everybody likes to hear here's what I did. Here's where I started. Here's where I came from.
How'd you get here? My favorite question on that was, tell me all about yourself in 30 seconds or less, right? Yeah. Right. Okay. So let's see. Grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. When I was growing up, everybody was like, hey, you're great at math and science. You should be an engineer. And I said, okay, great. I'll do that. And like any other kid, I trusted adults and I went to school for engineering, went to Virginia Tech, had an absolute ball, had a lot of hangovers and just had a great time, go Hokies, and got a degree in engineering. And then by the time I got my degree, I figured out what an engineer did. And I was like, oh man, I don't want to do that. And so that stinks. I don't want to be an engineer. I don't want to sit on a desk and crunch numbers all day. I want to be with people and hang out and have laughs.
Imagine that, right? Somebody like Matt being in a desk all the time.
Oh my God. That'd be just a slow death, right? To get just chained to a desk in a corner, right? Can you imagine my personality just chained up? We talked about the predictive index before, right? My PI chained to a desk sitting in a corner. No, thank you. So I found a job with a company called Ingersoll Rand selling their machinery to engineers. And so I was able to use my selling selling skills and they wanted people with engineering degrees to be salesmen. And that was like a godsend. I was like, okay, great. I can use my people skills and have fun and do what I like to do, which is to be with people and travel and bop around. And
be what every other engineer wants to be, but they can't because they don't have
right.
it.
You don't have the math and science skills, but also the talking skills, right? So I was able to excel at that, and I did very well. I sold their compressed air machinery, which, believe it or not, compressed air is so common in manufacturing. They call it the fourth utility among electric, water, natural gas, and compressed air. Every factory uses it. So I sold the machines that made it and did well doing that. And I learned about how things were made. I learned how to sell, learned how to manage my own time, learned a lot of things, traveled a good bit, and built up a little bit of prosperity for myself as a salesperson. Fast forward to when I met a lovely lady named Liz, who some of you ladies out there have heard of from the Real Estate Invest Her show, who introduced me to a great little purple book called The Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that book changed my mind. It changed my complete life. I was like, oh, wow, look at this whole world out there that I didn't know about. So fast forward to me starting to play cash flow board game every other week with a bunch of buddies of mine that I went to start to go to RIA events and found friends to play cash flow with, other local guys. And we would, pick up a 12-pack of beer and play cash flow. That was our Thursday night, right? And so I fast forward to when Liz and I got married. We agreed that, hey, this real estate thing's awesome. And by the way, her and I had bought a few rental properties while we were dating. I don't recommend buying properties with your girlfriend, but it worked out in my case.
I made my girlfriend buy me a car.
There you go.
I'm married 18 years now, so yeah, it works out.
So me and my girlfriend took out a loan from her dad named Salvatore. So I borrowed 30 grand from Salvatore to go and buy a duplex in Philadelphia.
That sounds like if you screw up, you sleep with the fishes.
He'll do that. Yeah. He said, Sal's a good guy, but I wouldn't want to not pay him back. Right. So we took care of it and bought a duplex. I bought a house bought a house that I lived in and everything like that. And Liz and I decided when we got married that it would be good to live off of her income while I spurred off and created a real estate company. Her income at the time was marketing a product called the Predictive Index, which you and I both know and love, which is a great tool for evaluating people. Little plug for PI there. And I slowly but surely built up the DeRosa group, got into some rentals and made a ton of mistakes and screwed up and dusted myself up and tried again and then tried again, then tried again, then tried again. And here we are. That was 2005. We now sit in 2020 with 1,150 units, completed probably 4 dozen or so fix and flips, a few wholesales here and there, some land deals, some new construction, wrote a book about our journey called Raising Private Capital, because we did a lot of it with investor partnerships and stuff like that. So that's a bit about us, man.
Well, dude, congratulations, by the way. Every journey is different. What's funny is me and you kind of have the same little bit journey there, is that we had a wife or a girlfriend at the time, but she had the secure, steady job.
Yeah.
that allowed us to be the risk in the relationship. And that's what Shelly did for me. So I have that same commonality with you. And honestly, that was one of the best things ever, to be able to have that and to go out and not be worried about making mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Because you just said, you're going to your mistakes are going to happen. Let's talk about the book that you wrote, because I think that has a lot to do with the success, is the ability to raise capital.
Yeah. Well, we built what we did on debt. I mean, 30% of Americans own their home free and clear. My mom and dad were one of those 30%. We took out a line of credit on their home, which gave us a little bit of leg room to go and do some BRRRR strategy stuff, buy properties, renovate them, refinance, repeat. And we were able to do that over and over again as business owners. And we, built up from there. And then the recession hit. We had to hunker down. We had done some refis to pull some capital out, and that got us through the recession. And then as things started to come back, like 2010, when the world started to get a little bit more normal again, somebody that Liz went to college with, I married up like you did. I married a smart girl because my wife went to Wharton, for grad school. It went to Penn and took some classes at Wharton. And one of her Wharton classmates, she was reconnecting with on LinkedIn. And she said, yeah, my husband's running some real estate ventures. And he said the magic words, which are, geez, I can invest in real estate too, but I just don't have the time. And it was like, ding. And I don't know what, because we had people say that before, and we were like, yeah, it does take a lot of time. Change the subject. Oh yeah, it sure does. But at that point, she was like, you should talk to my husband. And I was like, I talked to the guy and I said, I have time. And if you got money, I got time. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. I can make you something happen.
Right.
right now.
I find that raising capital is actually a marriage of the possession of time, resources, contacts, and knowledge on one side and money on the other side, right? And so it's with those two marriages, those two partnerships. In my book, I call them the cash provider and the deal provider, okay? And so in the marriage of the cash provider, deal provider, and they both are equivalent. And some people try and put one above the other. They are equivalent in priority, and the cash provider is not more important. If you ever deal with an investor that thinks that they're more important than you are, find another investor, right? But we figured out a way to structure a deal with this alumni friend of my wife's. And fast forward there, like that deal went well. He put up $50K and we bought 2 little single family homes, renovated them and refinanced them. And he went and told his buddies about it. And this guy now, and fast forward after Wharton, he's now a financial planner on Wall Street.
Yeah.
Right. So he hangs out with other financial planners on Wall Street, right? That are hanging out on Friday night, drinking martinis with their pinky out, right?
Yeah, I know that game.
So he plays that game. I love that game too. So he's like telling all his friends about it. And so before you know it, we had done a couple of deals with him and his buddies, and it slowly went out from there. And we started tackling bigger and bigger opportunities and grew up small into bigger and bigger real estate. And we've been able to lever up, do the right thing every time by investors. And our last deal was 336 units in North Carolina.
Boom, like drop the mic. That's a great example of how it transitions and goes, right? It doesn't always just come like, sometimes I hear people like, oh, they turned it on and they did something big. But for most people, I think most of the ways it happens, there's a gradual process. You don't just wake up and say, I'm doing this, all of it right now. Sometimes you need some training wheels, some tune-up spot to get along the way.
People think that that's what it is these days. And that if I just go out, first time in real estate, never done a deal, I'm going to go out and buy a 100-unit apartment building and it's going to be like
I'm going to raise $3 million.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I got it. I got this. You know, I'm going to be like it's going to be like an ATM machine that's going to spit out $1 million checks too. And I'm not going to have to roll my sleeves up and do any work. I'm just going to get to retire on the beach and sip Mai Tais and be retired, you know, at 29 years old.
The best part is when you have friends that are in the real estate game, but they're doing single family and they run a really good single family business. And they're like, oh, I can do this. I'll help you raise money, or I'm going to do some money. And then they fall flat on their face.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that it's a whole different skill set.
It is. Real estate's a different. So I have changed. I got started in single family. I own an office complex. So I had to figure that out, right? So I figured out a single family. I had to figure out office buildings. I had to figure out flips. I had to figure out different things. It's not like you figure out real estate investing and then that's it forever. I mean, I learn every day. I'm still learning, and we all are, right? Apartment buildings are a whole nother game that I had to learn when I got into them. And it's a great game. It's my favorite game in real estate.
We're playing with the red houses finally, brother.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, we trashed the green stuff.
Yeah, which my 7-year-old's now playing Monopoly, by the way. So now I know all about it. I'm reintroduced to red houses. And there's nothing wrong with greenhouses, because you still actually make a pretty good living if you own Park Place with 4 greenhouses on it. You know, you don't have to have hotels. And that's what I think the misnomer in the world is that you have to have apartment buildings to be successful in real estate. I was talking to a guy last night. I was at a GoBundance networking event, and there was a guy in the room that was like, guys, over 100 doors, owns it all himself. Had to go on some private loans. He was just doing BRRRR strategy. Buy it, renovate it, refinance, repeat. Is over 100 doors now, and he wants to get into apartment buildings. And I'm like, why, dude? Just keep doing that. Keep doing what you've been doing, man.
It works,
you know?
man.
Yeah.
There's lots of ways to get to nirvana, man. And everybody feels like, but we have this thing of these white rabbits we see.
Yes.
Sometimes, especially when you got something that's really working, and then you see a white rabbit. The main thing is just passive. I just like the passive side. As long as it's in the passive lane, you're in the right lane if it's working.
Right. Robert Kiyosaki nailed it when he talked about in the book Cash Flow Quadrant about the ESBI. The I quadrant does not have to be apartment buildings, or then the B quadrant does not have to be syndications. Those are both lucrative spaces. They're crowded these days, but at the end of the day, there are other ways to wealth. And it's about, to me, it's about sticking to a plan and having the cojones to to stay focused and not chase all the white rabbits that show up, you know, in whatever path it is.
Well, that's where I see so many new investors make mistakes, is they go from chasing, it's wholesale. No, it's fix and flip. No, it's syndication. No, and they can't even try to make up their mind and get good at anything, at any one thing. And they wonder why they're freaking broke and all they are professional course takers.
Yeah. My first 3 years of business, I ran around and had a lot of fun, met a lot of people, and looked at a lot of different things. But like one week I was looking at a land deal. The next week I was looking at a defunct multifamily I was trying to buy. The next week I was trying to do a wholesale. While all the while I was trying to hold down the projects that I had. And it's because I didn't have focus, right? And so to anybody, if you want to be a multifamily, then fine, great, focus on it and stick to it. And when the fix and flip shows up, allow yourself to not be distracted by it. Don't chase the shiny nickel.
I want to talk about your book for just a little bit more too.
Please.
What are they going to really learn? So if someone's like in the syndication model and they buy Raising Private Capital, what's it going to teach them?
It's going to teach them that they know people with money already. And the Raising Private Capital, it's chock full of my personal stories and my journey, which was entertaining, but it's a how-to on exactly where, with like exact sheet, with exact things to do and actions to take on how to find the money in your own network. Then once you find it, what to do with it. And not all money is the same. So some money you may find in your network is better off in this vehicle of real estate, and some money you may find is better off in this vehicle of real estate. And although we are not licensed Series 7 people, it's about looking at yourself as a custodian and a fiduciary of people's money and how to put it to work in real estate in the best form or fashion and thinking about it in their benefit. It also tells you how to unwind that money, right? I mean, deals don't last forever. So it tells you how to pay them back, how to structure deals, and also just pitfalls to look for in that. So Raising Private Capital is a true how to find money, whether you're just getting started or whether or not you are a syndicator that's done a lot of deals. There are some great tips in there on how we got really creative and raised millions and millions of dollars.
That really is the fundamental. And I just know who you are. The way you talk is usually the way you write. Yep. And when you write in a very common, like normal English way, not like there's some people that write, I'm like, what in the hell are you saying, brother? Like, no, people don't talk that way.
It's like, let me read this out loud, to see if I can get what you're saying here, man. Yeah.
But that's refreshing because that's much needed. That route for people, and it's a lot of times it's right under their nose. It's way easier than they think. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard job. People lose sight of that. We spend too much talking about like IRR and cash on cash and what's your, what's your EBITDA. It's like we could throw out all kinds of BS jargon about real estate, but it boils down to something that can be said to all people and that can be put in layman's terms in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Because money's personal.
Yeah, I think the best capital raisers are someone that could sit a 10-year-old down and explain to him exactly how a car works.
On the back of a napkin, yep.
Yeah, let me lay it down and give it to you as basic as I can. And I think that is a good way to sell and a good way to show people how you do what you do. Like, here's how an apartment building works. Here's what NOI means. Super layman's terms. This is what cap rate is in basic English. Right?
Yeah, because you want to educate them as they go. Let's switch gears here. I want to talk about some dirt, right?
Oh, boy.
COVID has left lots of little different dirt marks on everybody. And I think everybody needs to see the human side of this business, that it's not always sunsets and palm trees. Like, people come to this thing thinking, oh, we're going to make all kinds of money, we're going to get acquisition fees and all this stuff, but they forget about the operations side of the business and some of the things that we have to go through to make deals work.
Those that are out there pounding their chests on Facebook, talking about how they're just printing money and have never made a mistake, and you and I know who those people are that are out there talking lots of trash about how amazing they are and everything like that, are full of it, right? At the end of the day, this business hits back hard. Sometimes this business is like being in the ring with Ali, man. I mean, it's like, it absolutely just is a right uppercut. But the successful entrepreneurs like you and me are the ones that get up after the uppercut, or that have a swing back that we can take, know how to duck a few of those, right? And so we've all got battle scars, and those that I respect in this business are those that are courageous enough to show them and talk about them and talk about what they learned. Yeah, it means we're not perfect, but guess what? People really know that we're not, that we know we screw up, and they know that we learn as we go, and we know that we have mistakes, but it's really about what did you learn and what did you do to clean it up? So, that
is it, right? Because listen, I mean, a black swan event, COVID, that's a black swan. Who plans for that? You can't.
Who had that? I joke with the way I say it is like, nobody had COVID in their underwriting. Okay.
Nobody.
Right? Nobody. And you cannot tell me you had like, oh, Bill Gates said that there might be a pandemic or whatever. Get out of here. He didn't know it was going to happen like that. I mean, nobody saw this train coming. Even I remember in February going around to events and stuff like that, and people were like, "Oh, that's over in China. That's never going to come here." And then we started looking at the charts and how it was just doing this over in China.
God,
we're like,
right?
"Oh man, those guys are getting,
dude.
Man, those guys are getting really sick over there. Good thing that's not coming here." And all of a sudden, boom, shut it down.
And then you can't evict. We got moratoriums. You've got like new things that we've not had to deal with because we've had the playing field the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then they change the rules to the game, and then you got to figure out how to be nimble, how to make sure that you can still pay the bank.
We can't work. I remember many conversations I had. That was the time of March, April, June was surreal for me and a lot of other people. I mean, I spent a lot of time, probably put on a little bit of weight, probably drank a little more bourbon than I normally do, and just really commiserated with myself, but spent a lot of time talking to other landlords like yourself and other property managers about like, yeah, what are we going to do?
Because we were like, here's the biggest thing, like pref, right? You know, we make payments to investors and you're like, okay, I think I need to stop them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
most people did.
I did.
Yeah, most people I talked to did. And I think most investors understood.
Not on all of them, not on all our properties, but the ones that need it. Like, we have student housing. We absolutely stopped it on student housing.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But your investors, I think, understand at the end. Like, did you have any that you had to do it like that?
Sure. We had one property we had to stop the pref on. We had another property that I had one property, brother, that went from 40% occupancy because we were in the middle of like a restructure that was intentional to get it down to low occupancy so we could shake out. The property was full of bad. I was like, here's a bushel of bad apples. You know, this was what it was, right? Mm-hmm. We had 4 active drug dealers living on site, guy walking around site with a machete. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here kind of thing, right? So we got them all out. And then COVID hit and we were at 40% occupancy, man. So I am proud to say that we are now at 95% occupancy. So I've had success stories happen even during COVID, man, because what was interesting is those that are looking to move during COVID are still going to have to pass a credit check and show that they're paying their bills. So if you're not paying your bills, you ain't moving during COVID. So the only people looking to move during COVID were those that had reasonably good payment schedules and stuff like that. So we actually hit a boon because we were trying to lease up and we started doing this whole thing, Corey, but we were like, okay, we're going to do contactless showings. And I'll get to the dirt. I'm giving you good stuff now, but this was the good stuff about like we started Instagram marketing and Facebook marketing and everything like that we are going to do hands off, no contact showing. Because everybody back in March, April, June was super afraid of getting the Rona.
Right,
you know,
yeah.
They don't want
no one's coming in with the Rona. Yep.
Everybody don't give me that Rona. You know,
what's your protocol? Right?
Yeah, you got another human across the table. I can't talk to them. I can't be in the same room as another human. And back now, we kind of know more about what you can and can't do to get Corona. But back then, there was like you could get.
I'm gonna go out and say it though. I just want to say it just because I don't care. I think it's all a bunch of horse crap. So
good.
All right.
That's good.
I said it.
Yeah, that's America. We're entitled to that. I don't know. You know, I
had Rona.
Yeah,
my whole family
got the Rona. I don't know, right? But at the end of the day,
it's real. But like what we're doing,
so it's blown bigger. It's probably it's blown bigger than it needed to be, right?
Yeah.
I'll give you that. Anyway, if we marketed that we were doing touchless showings, and so that drew a lot of stuff to us, and we're just doing. It's the same shit that people. I guess I hope I can say that.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, good.
We have explicit lyrics here.
Okay, good. I can go full Faircloth now. Good, I love it.
Yeah.
All right. It's the same. I couldn't do that on Bigger Pockets. I can't talk like that, but here I can. It's the same shit that we were doing before. You're doing combo lockbox showings. You're doing the Show Mojo box where people have to do a picture of their driver's license and stuff like that. You're doing DocuSign, but we just assembled the whole process to where it was 0 human interaction to lease an apartment. So we went from 40 then to 70 and all the way up to 95. So you can have good stories, but we had 2 properties that stopped paying the pref because we just got lean. And we had one property drop into cash management, which is just a red hot mess. But, we're getting out of it. But it was one of those.
I have that experience too.
Yeah.
I've not even shared it with anybody yet, so I'll let you know.
Right.
Yeah,
my name is Matt, and I'm in cash management. Hi, Matt. Hi, Matt. Yeah.
Hey, listen, and it's expensive. It's like a $140,000 experience, right, to get in there, and then.
Yeah. Well, for your audience, I don't know if it's the same experience as you. By the way, who's your servicer?
Argentic.
Okay. I thought you were going to say KeyBank. They're the worst. And I hope their CEO's listening, man. They're like, KeyBank is just absolutely the worst service.
I've not gotten my documents that said I'm out of it, right? So I'm not trying to say anything to incriminate yet.
No, they know it.
2 weeks from now, I might be cool.
Oh, good. That's awesome. We're on our way there. But for your audience, the way cash management works is that when rent comes in, instead of your property manager being able to spend it for their expenses or whatever, the rent just gets diverted directly to this lockbox thing the bank has that they set up at a third party bank. They had to set up another bank account at Wells Fargo. The Wells Fargo was kind enough to charge us like $1,000 a month to maintain. And so that, right. So, hey, we're a little light on expenses.
Yeah, make sure you underwrite that part too.
Right. Let's charge you more money. Right. So that has to happen. And then the bank takes their debt service out first. And then they send you an approved allocation each month for your expenses. And that's at the end of the month. So your property manager now has to hold their breath until the end of the month. they send you an allocation for expense. And if anything comes in that's over that rental income and whatnot, they take and put it in a cash flow box. You still don't get that money. You still lose. So they take
no access to the money.
Yeah, that's it. Until you work your way out of cash management by meeting a bunch of hurdles, and the hurdles are heavy and stuff like that. But I got good news. They just allowed us, they're going to release the cash flow box to us, which is significant.
And that's the big piece, right? Because a lot of times, hey, listen, no one can plan for a Rona. And then you get in a spot and then they want to control all your money. And you're like, dude, I need this money to be able to do the things, to get the things, to bring in the people, to make you money.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing, though.
You just got to be creative and flexible and get lean. Like you said, get lean.
Now, I want to put something out there for people like, holy shit, this guy, Matt Faircloth, talking about in cash management. I can't believe this guy, right? Here's the deal. My investors know all about this. So I'm not talking about anything that my investors don't know about. You've got to be, if y'all want to get into syndications, y'all got to be ready to be transparent. And I know other syndicators out there, I'm not going to name you names, but I know your investors who are like, man, things got a little light on that deal. And all of a sudden I stopped getting emails. And all of a sudden he kind of stopped returning my phone calls and whatnot, right? It's easier to be an ostrich and dig your head in the sand and not communicate with your investors when the shit hits the fan. It takes a lot more courage, but I tell you what, they will respect you more if you own what's going on and say, hey, listen, here's what happened. Here's how I screwed up. And here's what I'm gonna do about it. And here's how I'm getting screwed. And it's okay. I'm not going to own all of it because KeyBank sucks and because this is what they did and everything like that. And this is how they got us into this situation, because I haven't got to this side of the story, but KeyBank actually, it's their fault we got put in cash management because they did something called a future funding advance. That's where you borrow money for construction. But if they decide you're not bringing it in fast enough, they can advance all the construction dollars to you, but they don't actually give it to you. They just take it and put it in an escrow account and charge you interest on it. I'm now paying $8,000 a month on interest for money I don't have anymore. But it increased.
And they're not going to give it to you. Yeah. So
but you're going to charge me.
Yeah.
But you're going to charge me. Is that even legal? I guess so. But you're going to charge me for money I don't have. And so that increased my debt yield or decreased my debt yield to the point where we triggered the covenant to go into cash management. So it is their fault.
Yeah. Well, so you brought up a great point, though. It is really about communication. So for those of you guys listening right now, is even when things go a little sideways, your money already believes and trusts in you. That's a fact. They wouldn't.
That's why they invested with you, because they knew that you would be able to weather the ship and get them out. And if things went, down the wrong road, that you had to know how to get them out of that. That's
all
why
they're looking for is your communication and your course corrections. They'll follow along very well. I truly believe this. Hold on, I'm a little farther down the rabbit hole than you are there. I'm in foreclosure. Okay.
Oh. I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you when I need advice on that.
We went into special servicing. Now, and we did it on purpose.
That's like the workout department, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right? But did they file a paper that says, why you get in that workout spot? They're like, all of a sudden I'm getting all these affidavits. God. And like, you're now in the pre-foreclosure process. We're getting ready to file this. And they're like, here's your notice. Man. Now, so we get there because we're having this, and this is where I think, I got to tell the story. I know you're my guest, but I got to tell the story because
I love it.
You're going to love it.
We're mask off now, right? Yeah, I love it. Yeah, cool. Bring it.
I'm talking to, and I've not shared this with anybody except for my investors, but we're in a spot where I'm talking to my normal lender, Argent. And I'm like, guys, student housing, we're at 45% occupancy. I floated this thing for as long as I can. And I need to figure out how to get to, I need some forbearance to get to next August.
Right.
So they're like, well, okay, we can't give you that much time. You should go into special servicing. And I'm like, can you guys make that adjustment to my loan? How do I get it? How do I do it? Special servicing, Corey. Okay, let's go to special servicing, which means we don't make the payment. Okay, that's how you get there, by the way. Ooh. You don't make the payment, you get there.
So you have to intentionally stop making debt service.
I had to move money out of my account.
Wow.
Right, to make sure I bounced. Right.
Wow.
So we go in there on the third month. Finally, we get the call like, we're moving you to special servicing now. Your loan's going the right spot. We're like, oh, great. This is going to be great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We're going to get that loan lot that we went. And I get in there, and I was like, Dragon Lady shows up. I want everything. And she's giving me these fee schedules, and I'm like, and dude.
Dragon Lady. Yeah, I think I met her cousin.
Bro, I start cussing, which is a no-no. Don't ever cuss to lenders. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
But I was fucking pissed, okay? Pardon my French on this podcast, but I was
you said you're explicit, so we can say that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, because listen, the guys at Argentic, the cool dudes, told me to go here. I get there, and I meet Dragon Lady.
Right.
And I'm like, hold on. Like, yo, I'm not that dude, man. Like, I'm here for a reason to get a workout. And so then all of a sudden her list of demands start showing up. Or we're filing for this. And even though she said we're going to, or maybe, dude, it was planned, bro. Like every day I'm getting like a new little deal. And I'm like, whoa, what is this? Like, what are you doing? Just tell me what you need and we'll get there. And this like was a whole month process. Anyways, long story short, $150,000 it cost me to go into this special servicing and their fees to make this thing right. So luckily, we kind of had enough money. And when you're ever in a spot, being capitalized, being well capitalized, or having the ability to access capital when you need it, that's what saved my life. I called a couple of my investors in the deal, and we own this deal for $9 million, and it's valued at $18 million.
Nice.
Like, we're into it, right? But like our cash flow is crap.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. We had a call. I made a call. I got $400,000 from my investors.
Yeah.
And we got our loan current.
How do you get out of it? Like, how do you work your way? Like, what's the exit?
They give you these magic documents that you sign.
Okay.
And they put it like they have this little wand, and they
the dragon lady has magic too.
I mean, she turns into a princess, dude, when you do it right. Right?
Normally it's the other way. Normally the princess turns into the dragon lady.
I mean, listen, what you can say and what you say will be used against you. And so Dragon Lady turns into a princess once we finally get all the details. And it was crazy because I was like, dude, we could have done this on the first call.
Right.
Like, you could have just told me what the hell you wanted, and I would have been, okay, that's cool. Like, we could have had this done in one call. But that's not how they want it, because she's making money, her fees, as we drag it along a little bit.
Oh, is she an attorney?
She works for the bank. She's in receivership. She's like the REO
But she's getting like fees for her
she gets
time.
Paid, $2,500 a month. And then
by you.
Oh yeah, here's the best part. We've only been in it for a month, right? She goes, but my fee to get into Dragon Lady School is you got to pay for me for 5 months, whether you need me or not.
Wow.
I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Wow.
I didn't say that, but I'm in my mind. I'm like, that son of a
that might have come out of my mouth. Like, what?
I'm like,
hey, can we just slow play it then? Could I just not pay my mortgage for another 5 months then? If I got to pay for you for 5 months, I mean, how about it just...
But luckily, at the end, she turned into a princess. She was really nice because, A, I had the money. Like I told her I did. We got current. And then all of a sudden, we're still not finalized. I got another week to finish up some stuff. But the magical documents are coming, which is the loan mod.
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to change the agreement to the deal because now we're in special servicing. So they have the ability to change the documents and give us 6 months forbearance. And then from there, we have another 18 months left in our loan. So we'll take the forbearance piece divided by 18 more months, and that's going to be our additional payments to get us through. Anyways,
so it sounds like you got a road out of the tunnel.
This is your podcast. This is your
No, brother. This is all good stuff, though. I love it. I mean,
but it was my first experience, dude. And Dragon Lady was real.
And I'll tell you that this shit has gone down with other syndicators who don't have the balls to put it out there like that, man. And I think that it sucks. It's a part of our world, though. And there's plenty of syndicators out there that might have just buried their head in. And honestly, I think that the other shoe's going to drop at some point. I think that that people like you and I are going to, there's going to be opportunity, whether it's you and me or maybe it's whatever, but there's going to be syndicators that are going to run out of gas and maybe not know how to work with Dragon Lady or not going to be able to enroll their investors, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And hey, guys, kick in $450K and we'll get through this, and I will champion you through it, and I got you. So there's going to be syndications that are going to fall out. The Dragon Lady's going to get back.
After I did everything that I said, this is now, because man, I'm a lot like you. I think we got some powerful brains, me and you. I know we do. So I was like, hold on, Dragon Lady.
Let me ask you a question.
I can't be the only person that's doing this. I just want to prove to you that I had the money and that I'm going to get the money and I'm going to do this. But what else do you have coming down the pipeline that I can buy?
Wow. Was Dragon Lady willing to tell you what she had?
Bro.
Wow.
Yes.
I can't believe she was willing to tell you.
Dragon Lady became the princess, dude.
Wow.
I'm kissing her like my fairy godmother now, man.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man. I would be sending her Christmas cards.
She's in the REO department. She knows all the stuff. And she's like, taking my order. What do you like? And I'm like, listen, I'll go raise $20 million right away. Tell me what you need to do.
That's almost worth not paying your mortgage just to meet Dragon Lady, to say like, hey, okay, I've made it to the inside. Because I can tell you that during the first foreclosure crisis, 2008, 9, 10, I was more into smaller deals at that time. But I cold called a bunch of banks saying like, I want to talk to your loss mitigation department.
Yeah, your REO department.
I want to try and talk my way through it. But like, I mean, that might have worked in 2009 when they were still cleaning the shitballs off the fan blades. But at the end of the day, once the banks kind of figured out how to mitigate those losses, those people became further and further behind the gate. You couldn't just walk up and cold call a bank and say, hey, let me talk to your loss mitigation department or your REO department. They knew they were holding the keys to something good.
All of a sudden, there's multiple layers to the gatekeeper. So that was the conversation. Because I got all the way to the gatekeeper, like the one that knew about it. I'm like, listen, I don't necessarily need you to queue me up a deal, but like, if you can give me a heads up or make suggestions, if someone's really getting ready to lose, let me be the solution. Let's call this pre-foreclosure heaven.
Yeah.
Right? Let me be the solution for it. Like,
I hope you're able to do something with that, man.
I've got a lot of rich friends. We got lots of money.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you could be helping somebody out that might be in front of Dragon Lady that either doesn't have the network or doesn't have the know-how and maybe got over their head or whatever. They just
don't want to get the nick on their name, on their record, right? So
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. I don't know why there is these bragging rights in syndication world. When people ask, like, hey, man, have you ever done a cash call? As investors ask that. And there's this pride to be like, no, I've never had to do a cash call. And I've just like, no, I've never had to. I've had to write a big ass check myself. I mean, and I've had to front up like 150 grand out of my own pocket to keep a deal going. Yes, I have. I've had to hold my breath for a really long time to get paid while my investors got paid. Yeah. And I've had to go in my pocket a lot, every here and again to keep things going.
To make it work.
Yeah.
See, that's the part that most syndicator, most people that are doing these podcasts, they don't ever talk about that crap. Like, because this is the realness of what really happens in the business is, because you framed it up, Matt, in the beginning, where you said you are equal with your money.
Yes.
You're not better. You're not lower. You're just equal. And then, but truly, I think you're below it because I've always put my money way above me.
Right.
Meaning, I'm going to do everything that I have to make it right.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes it means coming out of my own pocket.
Yeah,
I'm protecting the
I guess
deal.
what I was referring to is that I want to work with investors that are willing to work out win-wins with me and treat my side with respect. Yeah. You're right, though, that I do in my own mind. I put investors first.
You do too, but you still want them to be like amicable and like understand that life is real
and view it as a win-win, right? Instead of like they got me by the short and curlies.
It's a short-term event for a long-term deal. Right? Yes. That's where we've always had, that's visionaries as we are, man. That's what we do, is we look for, hey, this is a 5-year deal. This is we're a year and a half into this little thing. In the long term, in 5 years from now, we're going to be laughing at this event. Yeah. It's not going to do a hell of a lot.
Let me, do I got time for one more story?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll tell you, this is a pre-COVID story, but this is a good one, right? And this, I highlight a little bit of this in my book, and folks that have heard me on other shows or whatever might have heard me tell a little bit of it, but let me give it to you. This ought to be one of those like late night, Saturday night movies or something like that. It probably will be like a Netflix special or something like that about this guy. So we have an 18 unit in Northeast Philadelphia. Bought it for $1 million, 50% occupied, got in, renovated apartments, upgraded the units, got rents up, got it humming along, making a nice little cash flow. Philadelphia starts to just take off. And I have a guy come in and say, I'll give you 1.5 right now, no questions asked. And we're into the deal for 2 years. It's a 5-year syndication. We're into the deal for year 2. I'm like, I got to take that offer, man. We're cash flowing, but like, geez, like 50% more than I bought it for on year 2. Yes, please.
So I take button.
Yeah, right. I take the deal. And so $716,000 comes back to us at closing. I work out a deal. That's what's lined up to come back to us. I work it out because I'm syndicating. At this point, we've grown our business and stuff like that. We've tackled some larger projects. So I'm under contract to buy a 198 unit in Fayetteville, North Carolina, right? Home of Fort Bragg, largest military installation in the world. Great site, great property. Total. That's the one that had 4 active drug dealers on site with a guy walking around with a machete. Yeah, I mean, great location with a bunch of knuckleheads living there, right? Yep. So we put it under contract, and I'm like, hey, I got an idea. I told these investors in this deal in Philadelphia that they were going to be on a 5-year hold. They're only on 2. I'm going to do a tenant in common 1031 exchange. It's a little complex, but I'm going to do a 1031 to take those investors and put them in this deal, right? And so we line it up. Sale happens, 1031 sale goes in. The 1031 custodian that I used, I found him on Bigger Pockets. I Googled this guy all up and down the street, read a bunch of reviews of his, talked to his staff. Everything sounded good. And so we closed that, and then we go continue raising capital for this North Carolina deal. I go call the 1031 company because we get to be 2 weeks outside of closing, and nobody's answering the phone. Nobody's returning my emails. And so I Google the company owner, right? I'm like, what WTF, man? Where is this guy? And so I'm like, I'm going to the top, man. This is what I do, right? It's probably what you would have done. I'm calling the freaking owner, right?
Yeah.
And so I Google the owner's name, and the first thing that shows up in Google is business owner found burnt alive in car in Jacksonville neighborhood, staggering around neighborhood. And it turns out this knucklehead was the owner of this company, was walking around this residential neighborhood with 3rd-degree burns. Turns out that he had been lit on fire by somebody else in a car. Okay. But he was alive. But they had put him in, because he was burnt so badly, they put him into a coma. Okay. An induced coma to keep him alive. So now I'm like, oh man, this guy, he's burnt alive. And he was the only, it's a small company. He was the only signer on all the accounts. And so now he's in a coma. He can't sign off on my 1031 exchange thing. So that's my initial like, oh man, I feel for this guy. What can I do? How can I help him? I send him a basket of cookies or something like that, right? And help this guy out. I do more digging. I read the next Google thing down and I start to see more stuff. And it turns out that straight up, Corey, people like you and me that are upstanding business people don't get lit on fire in cars, do we? It doesn't happen to upstanding business owners. That happens to folks that are involved, that are ne'er-do-wells and involved in some nasty stuff, right? Turns out this guy was running a Ponzi scheme. He was taking 1031 exchange proceeds and using it for other things besides what he was supposed to be doing with it, right? And so it got to a point where we had 716,000 go to him. He had 6.5 million tied up in 1031 exchange money when he got lit on fire in the car. So I was able, we and the other owners, thanks to some other online blogs like BP and stuff like that, were able to get in contact with each other. We all hired a lawyer and did a class action suit against him. Right. So we've actually been able, like happy ending, we've been able to get the majority of the money back. And it's been 3 years, but we've been pretty much made whole. Fees. Yeah. And there's still more money coming. Now, some of that money that knucklehead stole went up his nose and went to other things and stuff like that. Right. But a lot of the money went to the guy who was in real estate. The guy bought himself 3 mobile home parks, bought himself a bunch of single family homes in Jacksonville, bought self-storage centers and stuff like that, invested the capital. And so when he surrendered, when he came out of his coma, he agreed to cooperate. So they started liquidating all this stuff. Was that? Yeah. Right. So anyway, they,
gosh, damn, dude.
Yeah, man.
Like, how do you tell that to your guys?
Guess what just happened to us? Right. So I called a mentor of mine and he was like, hey man, listen, you got 2 choices. You can call your up investors and say, hey man, listen, we got robbed. This is what happened. And that jerk off right there in the coma is the one that took our money, and we're going to sue him for everything he's got. And he's got stuff. And by that point, we knew he had assets, and we're going to get our money back from him. Just you wait. But he said the other thing, if you do that, they're likely never going to invest in you again. And there's going to be some faith lost. And it's maybe not the right thing to do as their custodian. And I thought about it. And I was like, you know what, man, these people, although yes, we made a mistake and we didn't know this guy was going to do this. They put their money with me, and this shit happened on my watch, right? This happened while I was watching the clock. And so at the end of the day, I feel like, not that I'm responsible, but I need to be part of making it clean. So that 716,000 was going to buy 18.5% of my building in North Carolina. Me and my partner had a 30% carve out, meaning we had 30% ownership of that building. We gave them our side of that building. So our investors are covered with my equity in that building in North Carolina. Now, as the money came back, we started to buy that equity back from them and everything like that and get our side back. But they were covered with equity in my North Carolina deal the whole time.
That's all they care about, right?
It's just the right thing to do, brother.
Finding the right way to do it. That way you're worried about collecting. They don't even have to worry about trying to collect. They've already been paid. They've already got something.
They're covered
in something.
Yeah, they got their equity. Right. They got their equity. So it's not like they're just high and dry hoping that this dude in North Carolina, that this guy, this 1031 guy was going to pay up. They know they're covered. And if he doesn't pay off, we don't get a nickel out of him. They at least have share in a building in that. And and the good news is we're about to sell that building and they're going to do really well. And we've gotten a bunch of money back from the 1031. Moral of the story is, guys, first of all, if you're going to do something, make sure that you vet it by a few people, because I could have just called my CPA or called 8 other people or put on note on Facebook, say, hey, I need a 1031 exchange custodian. I probably could have gotten referred to him that way, but I could have asked for more referrals to 1031s. And also, you know what? Sometimes shit happens. And maybe I would have gotten, and maybe I still would have worked with the guy. If I had gotten 8 referrals, I still would have hired the guy. At the end of the day, you got to be prepared to put investors first, way ahead of yourself, and put your investors' goals ahead of yours. That's my nitty gritty dirt story. I don't tell very often, but because it hurts.
Thanks for sharing,
I told
bro.
it, man. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, because, hey, listen, I shared one, you shared one.
That should be a freaking TV movie, right? Shouldn't it? Like, you picture this guy just running around.
We could do a whole entertainment series of the shit that can go wrong and does of doing syndication. I would never want to be the star of that show, but I know,
right? Well, I don't know if you get enough syndicators to get real about it.
Won't.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to figure it out and that haven't been able to make it work.
Again, so there's a great example, and everybody that's listening to this episode, man, you're listening to two guys get very honest about the business, and when things come up, how you find solutions that make it win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's really that's the end of the day. That's what you did, man. You're like, dude, this is crap. And I don't even know how, it's like a grenade. You're like, what? And finally you just decided just to fucking sit on it.
Right. That's what I did. I like Captain America that shit. I just laid on top of the grenade and said, get back. I got this. I'm going to lay on the grenade. It's okay. Right.
But there's a lot of humility in that. Again, thanks again for sharing, brother. Like, that's huge, man. So as we wrap this thing up, I always like to give a book, right? So, like, what book are you reading right now that you have read in the past that really is doing it for you?
Brother, I got a great... So, I'm not reading a book. I'm reading a lot of books. Here's what I got going on. Brandon Turner talked about this in the Bigger Pockets podcast a long time ago, and I kind of made it went into my subconscious, and I thought, it was like, oh, put that back here. And then it just came up at the new year. I was like, man, I'm going to read a lot of books. But I don't want to read books. I want to listen to books. But I don't want to listen to the full book. I want to listen to the summary. And so I downloaded this app called Blinkist. Right? Today is February the 10th, right? Not that that's when y'all are listening to this thing, but today we're 40 days into the new year, right?
Yep.
I've listened to over 50 books in the year, okay? Because the summaries are about 20 minutes a piece. I listen to them when I'm on the treadmill, when I'm driving somewhere, when I'm in the car by myself, when I'm working out or whatever. I listen to books. I can normally get 1 to 2 books done on the treadmill. And so, or when I'm out for a walk, I know you told me the other day you do a lot of walking and stuff like that. So if you're walking by yourself, you can freaking get through Crush It or get through like The One Thing or one of those. Like, I listened to Alexander Hamilton's biography. I listened to Rockefeller's biography. Like, books I would never pick up, right? I'm just not. Listen, I'm curious about Rockefeller, but not for nothing. I'm not going to go read 400 pages about him. I'm not. But I'll listen to 20 minutes about it. I will.
Bro.
Yeah. And if I like...
What's this called? So is this an
Blinkist. It's Blinkist. Yes, it's an app. It's $100 a year. It's Blinkist, Blinkist. And I don't make shit off of it. I'm not like I'm trying to like whatever. I don't own any of it.
Bro.
It is a lazy man's education tool, brother. And I'm pretty smart, but I'm also
pretty lazy. You just said my love language, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like...
You just said lazy. I love it. Yeah. Lazy. It's easy. But
Blinkist, dude, Blinkist. I'm telling you right now, that is my biggest take in 2021 so far.
Yeah. It's amazing.
I love reading, but sometimes I'm like, dude, I want to read more, but I'm just, what
if the book's crap?
And now I'm an audio guy. I like audio way better.
But what if it's a shitty book? I'll give you one more book that I actually listened to, and you cannot read this. You have to listen to it. It's called "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins. If you haven't listened to it yet,
one. Yes.
Did you? Oh my God,
that's
the audio is like him, and every other word out of his mouth is profanity. It's great. I mean, he's just like this motherfucker.
I listen to him when I'm going hiking sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I go to a YouTube video and just like hear him say his stuff, and it just gives me up the mountain.
He makes me I've been running on the treadmill, and I was listening to Goggins, and I'll go and turn it up turn up the speed. I'll go a little faster because I'm like, shit, what would Goggins do? He probably would run a lot faster for a lot longer is what he would do. So yeah, those are 2 great books. But yeah, man, Blinkist is an absolute life changer. And it enabled me to get into a lot more experimentation of education. Like, hey, I like this. I'm a parent of young kids. Let me read some books on parenting. I've been exploring meditation. Let's read some books on that. I might not pick up The One Thing, but I can listen to a 20-minute version, a 20-minute summary of it. And if I like it, I'll go pick up the book.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Great. That is great. That's a great give. Thank you for that. I'm going to thank you for that. That's right up my alley right now.
Yeah, let me know how that goes.
I do hour walks every day, man. Sometimes twice a day, right?
Yeah, it's a life
Sometimes it's with
changer.
my wife, so she's talking my ear off. But listen.
Well, you put on Blinkist anyway. Just sit and shake your head like this.
Right? My man. All right, listen, last word. So if you could give any advice to anybody that's coming new into the business, what say you, bro?
Okay, this advice works. This isn't just coming in during COVID advice or whatever. This is just good business for anybody that's starting up in business. And this has been what I tell myself and what I tell newbies too. If you're going to get into this business, you got to make 3 agreements with yourself. The 3 agreements are that you need to make an agreement that you're going to not quit, right? And if you just agree that you're not going to quit, those that lose or those that like fold up or go bankrupt or whatever are people that quit. If you look at, there's many successful people I know that have gone bankrupt multiple times. Shit, you might end up being president, right? That's not failure. That's just Control-Alt-Delete, right? But the computer turns back on after you do that, right? So don't quit. Make that agreement with yourself. Number 2, make the agreement that no matter what, you will keep moving, because stagnancy and stopping will kill your momentum. You're not going to grow or get into new things if you don't, even though you're afraid, you might feel the fear. If you feel the fear but keep moving, you will also find your way to success. And the third thing is, this is the hardest one, and I have to remind myself of this one all the time, is don't get your emotions involved. And I try my best. It's hard not to. It's an emotional business. There's a lot of zeros involved in this business. But if you do your best not to get your emotions involved and make decisions pragmatically, then you'll do better and you'll be able to just make just dollars and cents level decisions. So if you make those 3 promises to yourself, that's, I think, the keys to success in anything, but mostly in real estate.
Amen. Dude, great.
Hey, brother.
Great thing. Listen, what a wonderful podcast today. If you're listening right now, this is why you come to this show, because there's no other show that I know of that would give it to you unfiltered, raw, and real. It is absolutely where it's at, guys. A lot of life, a lot of things happen, a lot of success happens, but it happens in the mind first, guys. It really starts. It's the quintessential part. If you believe it, you can achieve it, and your paradise is possible.